Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today for the 16th edition of the CoveritLive University Web Series. My name is Spencer Kitley. I'm the Customer Success Manager for CoveritLive. We appreciate you joining us today for the latest webinar on CoveritLive's look into our most recent release. It features Q&A replies, full screen photo galleries, and much more. Before we get started, I want to provide you with a brief overview of the format of today's session. We expect this webinar to last about 30 minutes, and at its conclusion, we'll take questions which can be sent in via the WebEx client chat window, which is on the green tab at the top of your screen. You click chat, send in questions there. Send those in during the event. Members of our staff will be standing by to answer any questions, or they'll be answered at the conclusion. Tomorrow, this webinar will be posted on CoveritLive.com under the CoveritLive University tab. You also receive an email from us when that's there, so you can share that with any of your colleagues or coworkers that weren't able to make it today. I want to remind you, you can email us at any time, support@coveritlive.com, or you can like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter @CoveritLive. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce the host of today's webinar, the General Manager of CoveritLive, Ben Schneider.
Thanks, Spencer, and thanks everyone for joining today and taking time to learn about some of the new features in CoveritLive from our most recent release. As Spencer mentioned, we'll be covering some of the new features that we've added just in the past few weeks in CoveritLive, including the reply feature, the ability for panelists and producers to reply directly to pieces of content from within your CoveritLive event, whether that be comments or even social content, as well as some other new features that around panelists and producers and additional flexibility that you now have there. We'll also take a look at some new functionality we've added on the front end for your viewing experience, including the new full screen photo galleries that are automatically included inside of the new CoveritLive embeds, as well as some other refinements to the overall interface to improve it. And then some other functionality around being able to save and prime content in the SmartStream and have it ready to publish without it being live amongst your panelists and producers to better facilitate Q&A and communication whenever you have multiple people running an event or taking and responding to content that's coming in. In addition to that, we'll show a few other kind of cool tweaks that we've made here and there to make things easier. So jumping right in, one of the biggest enhancements that's come out in the most recent release is the CoveritLive Replies. And what this functionality gives you is the ability to respond directly to any piece of content, whether it's published or not, whether it's in the SmartStream or it's already live, directly within the CoveritLive event. It can also be social content, it can be from your users, it could be other panelists and producers. Essentially anything that shows up live inside the event can have a reply. It can have multiple replies from a panelist or producer as well. So this is a great tool for using as a Q&A session, allowing users to ask questions and then respond to them directly. And whenever you do that and you add that reply, the two pieces of content are published together simultaneously if they're not already live, and they're threaded together regardless of whether they're live or not. There's also some additional nice features around seeing when other people are already replying to particular pieces of content and getting a notification around that. And then being able to use this feature even once things are replied to add additional, or once things are live to add additional content or continue a conversation on one particular entry. I'll jump in and show you an example of this feature both in the back end inside the EventStudio as well as on the front end. So here I have the EventStudio open for a sample event that we've set up called our sports social stream. And let me get WebEx out of the way so I can show you the front end where we'll be looking at our event. So here it is set up on our demo site looking like CBS as an example for how this could fit into a page. And we've got a lot of content that we've published, some of it's social, some of it's commentary from users, etc. And this is the demo event we'll be using for our examples today. So back to the EventStudio for this event. You can see here that in the SmartStream I have some comments that have been submitted already. And these are pending and have not been published live yet. I can take any one of these and click the new reply button. And whenever I do, I now have the opportunity to add content to this inline. So I can put any sort of just plain text response. I could also format it with a rich text editor, just like I can on a normal CoveritLive entry or comment or submission from the Writer's Console. I can add links, I can add additional HTML and rich formatting and paste other types of content in here as well, again, just like I can with the Writer's Console. And then whenever I'm ready and I have my response written, Clicking reply will publish both my response as well as the question at the same time simultaneously to the stream. It will also group them together, so we can now see them. There's the comment from Mike, and he asked his question, and then there's my response. My formatting is included. Both items are published together. They're shown together and threaded inside the window. Another feature that you'll notice that's just a nice convenience piece is once I start replying to something, my SmartStream is paused. So as new content comes in, it doesn't try to push down or rearrange the order of what I'm doing and what I'm responding to, and therefore distracting me. And then once I'm done replying, I can indicate that I want to play the SmartStream again and start getting real-time updates. So here comes another question. I may want to answer that one as well. Or to show you a different example, let's say I go ahead and publish that question. So that question's live, and I haven't actually yet replied, and I realize that after the fact and go, oh, I meant to add a reply to that. Well, it's not too late, even if that content has already been published live. So I can add a response, click reply, and now that's saved. With that particular piece of content, it's attached to it, it's visually threaded, and it's the way the threading looks will adjust based on the type of skin that you're using within CoveritLive. So now I can see that even if something is already live, I can reply to it. I can reply to it before it's live, so I keep the questions and answers together. I can see that the SmartStream will pause and let me take care of replies and deal with the question that I'm currently working on or the comment before adding new content and what new updates have actually come in. Additionally, on top of that, as I mentioned, you can also have multiple replies. So let's say I want to add another answer to this, or maybe even another panelist or producer wants to add a different answer. They can do that as well. So I can add another reply, and as many replies as I like will now be threaded against that piece of content. And even if it's not the most recent piece of content, I can do that as well. So I'll go back to something that's been published a while back. Just throw in answer 2. And you can see that it will go back and put that particular response with that piece of content where it is in the stream and in the timeline. Another nice piece that you'll notice is if you have other panelists and producers that are also working inside the same event, if they start replying to a particular piece of content, you'll get a notification. Like it says right here, Spencer Kitley is replying. So now I know that I don't need to jump into that message. Spencer's already taken care of that one. I'll skip on and move to the next one. And likewise, once I start replying, he'll see that Ben is replying to this particular piece of content. So when multiple people are working in the event together, it makes it really, really easy to know who is already taking something, who's already replying, and make sure that you're not multiple people replying to something at the same time unless that's your intent. Another handy feature to use that has been around for a while but works really well in conjunction with this is tagging. So let's say that you do have multiple people working in the event and you want to allow them to know specifically which pieces of content they should focus on. You could have one person essentially delegating which questions or comments to respond to by tagging them with a color and saying, for example, everything that's tagged orange belongs to Spencer, everything that's tagged blue will belong to Ben. Then that allows those panelists and producers within the SmartStream to use the filter by option to look at only the things that have been tagged to them, making it quick and easy for them to focus on just their content, allowing somebody else to sort of play the traffic police officer who is assigning things to people by using the tag and the coloring. Again, it's not necessary because you do see a notification when other people are replying, but it is a convenient feature and can be used in conjunction with this functionality to make it even more efficient. And there's also some other cool features around that we'll get to a little bit later. So as you can see, whenever you use the reply feature, it's great for a Q&A session. It's great for answering questions and publishing those live with a particular response all together, threaded, so that way people can see where the response belonged, that these items belong together, and that they were published together, and that you can even build on those conversations as you go. One other thing, actually, before jumping off of this that I do want to note is that you can do this not only to comments and questions that have been provided directly from your users, but also to any content that you've published. So whether it's a photo, whether it's something that you published from Twitter, or some other social feed, or an RSS entry, you can also add replies to those as well. So now I have a reply entered against a Twitter entry that had a picture in it. And I can do that with any piece of content, not just comments and questions. If you're curious a little bit about what this looks like on the front end, you get an idea, obviously, from the EventStudio. But here's an example of how this looks on our full page stream, where we have our comments and our questions coming in, and the responses to those. And both the question and the answer can be shared. You can see when there's multiple responses, and see those threaded against the question or the comment. And then I can also see them against the social content that I provided. So again, regardless of the type of content, regardless of the media, whether it's photo, video, it's pulled from an external source or created directly within the EventStudio, you can add replies, you can add multiple replies, have them threaded, have them done in real time, and also queue them up to be published at the same time as the original question or comment went out. Another feature that's related to this that's really helpful is the new ability to save content directly to the SmartStream. And what this allows you to do is essentially draft a post and have it ready to publish at just the right time, or maybe have it reviewed by other panelists, producers, etc. that are in the event before publishing it live. This is a really convenient feature if maybe you want others to check out what you've written, or you want to save it for a particular time in the event that you want to publish it. And you can essentially have that piece of content ready in the SmartStream to go, but created on the fly. Previously, you could do this by adding pre-written content to the media library and then going to the media library, tagging that piece of content, and it would be there in the SmartStream until you're ready to use it. And you can still do that. But oftentimes, you need to write this piece of content on the fly, but not publish it immediately. And that's where the ability to save content directly to the SmartStream comes in. Jumping back into the EventStudio, I'll show a quick example of this. Right down below the SmartStream, you'll see a Save to SmartStream heading and a small box. Once I type into it, I get a writer's console, just like I do on the live portion of the event. Again, I have rich text and rich HTML formatting content options. So I can go ahead and draft something. I'm not ready to publish this now, and maybe I'm going to publish other comments and questions or write other things inside the event in the meantime. And so I want to have this new item ready, but I also still need to be able to access my writer's console for real-time updates that are happening in the meantime. And I want to have this piece of text ready to go whenever it's appropriate. So I can draft it, format it. Again, add links, rich HTML, etc. And then I can save it to the SmartStream. I can also tag it. So let's say that I want to, immediately whenever it's saved, assign a tag color to it so that way it goes to a specific panelist or producer who's monitoring that color. Then I can do that, and now it's in the SmartStream. And whenever a panelist or producer who is filtering to the tagged item of that color, they will see it. And that item will be sitting there pending until it's published, just like any other piece of content that has come into the SmartStream, whether from Twitter or from the audience and users or something else that has been tagged from Media Gallery or search. So now you have a quick and easy way to have some piece of pending content that you write on the fly but is not published immediately and can therefore be reviewed by others or essentially just queued until it's exactly the right time to publish it. Note that you don't have to tag it. You can also write something and have it just saved directly into the SmartStream without a tagged color as well. So in this case, that item has been added as well. And I'm going to remove my filters. And you can see that that item has been placed in the SmartStream as well. It's just been without a tag color. Once you do tag something with a color, though, in the Save to SmartStream option, it will remember that until you use a different option in the future, making it very convenient and quick and easy to go. And then if you're done and you want to get more window space back for the SmartStream, you can simply hit the X box to close down the Save to SmartStream feature. So again, a lot of great uses there, allowing others to review the content or simply writing something very, very quickly in a draft mode that you want to save for later and then publish, or to allow for just the right timing. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned, but you may have noticed in a little bit of an adjustment in the EventStudio is as we've added more options such as replies, pinning, etc. to different pieces of content, the menu has gotten longer. And so to make it more convenient, we've enhanced the way the menu works and given you a more or less option. So some of the less frequently used options on a particular piece of content will be hidden by default, but can easily be expanded by clicking the More button. And then you can access those as you need. Keep in mind that one of the things you can do once you've saved something to the SmartStream is come back and edit it. So if I decide that I do want to publish this, but I need to adjust it a little bit before publishing it, then I can do that and save it and then publish it whenever I'm ready. So this capability with the new replies, the save to SmartStream, in conjunction with the pinning capability that we added a couple of months back in one of our more recent releases, gives you a great way to run interactive sessions and prompt users to respond to different questions that maybe you want to provide. So for example, I could directly enter a pinning item that I want to ask the audience a question. So let's say I want to pose a question to my audience, but I don't just want to poll it or a trivia. I'm not a simple response. I want them to give me some thoughtful answers. Do you think they returned to the 49ers returned to the Super Bowl, and why? So now I can pin that item. It's now a question that's available for everyone to see on the front end of the event, which we can check out here. So here it is pinned to the top, and everybody who's participating and following along can now submit their questions and answers back to me in response to this particular question. And if I see some of those entries come up in the EventStudio, here's one for example, then I can just publish it directly, and now I'm actually facilitating the questions, allowing the audience to respond. Or I can allow the audience, using the reply feature, to ask me questions and me respond in line, or use a combination of both. So in this case, I like Spencer's comment, and I'm also going to add something to it. Good point. It's a much tougher division this year. And then I have another one. I can do the same sort of thing. So in addition to questions and answers, I can also just use it to facilitate more threaded discussion, interact directly with the audience and the answers that they're providing, and they know that I've responded directly to the comments and or questions they've submitted, and it's a great way to facilitate back and forth engagement. And as you can see on the front end, and this applies in a great way between using pinning as well as the reply feature to facilitate back and forth question and answer sessions. So jumping back into some of the other new items, in addition to all that functionality around replies, saving to SmartStream, and some of the other enhancements just to the interface, we've also added enhanced panelist console access. And you may have heard me mention several times now that a panelist or a producer could be reviewing items in the SmartStream, searching based on tag, color, etc. And if you've used the panelist feature before, then you may be thinking, well, no, they can't, because panelists don't have access to the SmartStream. They only have access to the writers area. But we have made a change that now facilitates that. Panelists, now whenever you invite a panelist, and even once they're already in the event, you have the option to give them either basic access or SmartStream permission. And this essentially allows them to write content, but also see all the things that are happening in the SmartStream if you want them to. Therefore, they can filter down to content from a specific color and review it and publish it, or answer questions specifically positioned to them, or just jump in and help with other questions and comments that are going on and facilitate things that are happening from your audience, from Twitter, or from anything else that's being tagged and placed directly into the SmartStream. This access can be changed on the fly, and it can be done per panelist. So it's not a global setting. It's something that you can do per panelist. Maybe you have some that you only want to write, and then you have others that you would like to be able to have full SmartStream access. Now you can do that. And I'll show you quickly where this can be set up. So once I'm in the EventStudio, if I'm looking at my panelist access, I've invited another alter ego of myself to this event as a panelist, and I've already accepted and I'm online. When creating that invitation, there's the option, once I select panelist, to indicate what sort of access I want to provide, basic or SmartStream. And basic is what was traditionally available in the past and what you may be used to if you've used this feature before. For additional detail, you can always click the help icon and get some more information about exactly what settings are available from each one of these particular access levels. So I've provided myself with basic access. As a refresher, this is what that looks like. I've now jumped into another view of the EventStudio in a different browser where I'm logged in as CIL Ben and as my panelist role. And I can see that I can see the live event content, I can write, and I can adjust my avatar settings, my display name, etc. but I don't have any access to the SmartStream or any of the search tools and capabilities. Well, let's say that I want to now give this producer, or this panelist rather, I trust them and I want them to be able to access and contribute from the SmartStream. We need some additional help. There's a lot of content going. I can simply change that setting, that access setting, and save it. And now whenever I jump back over as the panelist, my view is instantly refreshed and I'm now given more access. So the EventStudio will reload, and then I will see that I now have access to the SmartStream, including all of the content that's been dropped in directly, live content that's updating, the Save to SmartStream feature, where maybe I want to draft some responses and ask people before publishing them, as well as all of the filter and search capabilities that are available in the SmartStream. So now, if you want to tell that panelist that they can respond to all the orange content, they have the ability to do that. Or if you want to tell them to monitor everything that's a question. However you feel like it's most useful based on the resources and help you have available, you can utilize this feature to give selective access to the SmartStream to your panelists. And of course, if you want to give them full access to all of the search capabilities from all of the social sources to media library, polls, trivia, and everything else that's available from the status and from the toolbar, you can do that by simply making them a producer. But this gives you a nice in-between option to where you can have panelists that can simply write content, panelists that can review and moderate, answer questions, and do things in the SmartStream, or full-blown producers who have access to everything. Again, you can do that per individual panelist, and you can change it on the fly during the course of the event if you need to. So a powerful feature to better facilitate running your events, to have limited access, to better facilitate engagement with the audience and questions and answers, as well as just reviewing and moderating content that you want to publish. Another small but really convenient and nice addition that we've made is the CIL Avatar Uploader. This is essentially a new tool that allows you to fix your avatar on the fly inside of the CoveritLive event. We've had a number of cases where people have uploaded an image, it wasn't the right size, it wasn't the exact right dimension, so they had to go inside of another program externally to go adjust those things before uploading it to CoveritLive to get it the way that they wanted, and that's not terribly convenient. So one thing we've done is add the ability to, once you upload your avatar, you can now resize it and zoom in and out and adjust exactly what portion of the picture that you want to be able to show. And I'll show you an example of this in my new panelist window. So since I've been invited as a panelist and I haven't yet set up an avatar, I'm going to jump into settings. I don't have an avatar created, so I'm going to edit that. And I think for our purposes today, I'll use a picture of the Hoff. So now you can see I've added my avatar. It's given me sort of a default look with the full picture displayed as well as it can based on the dimensions inside the preview window. I can drag the zoom bar to decide exactly how much or how little of the photo I want to see. And then I can adjust and drag the photo around within the square to show just the portions that I want. So if we want to get creepy, all-knowing, all-seeing eye Hoff, then we can have that. Or if I want to zoom back out and get more of the full picture, I can do that as well. Or we can do somewhere in between and get it centered and cropped just the way we want to see it. So once that's done, that'll save to my avatar, and now I've got my new avatar set up, and I can adjust that at any time, replace the picture, adjust the settings around how the avatar is centered, zoomed, etc. At any point in the future, so that way my future content will have that attached with it. So again, something that's just really convenient and makes it easy to change on the fly, particularly useful for panelists and producers who maybe haven't used CoveritLive before, or who you've invited to the event right when it starts or shortly before it starts and didn't have time to get their avatar fully set up in some other program beforehand. Now for this piece, we'll jump back out to the front end of CoveritLive functionality in the viewer window. We made a number of enhancements just to modify the interface, and over the last several releases, there have been a lot of significant changes. We've added responsive design, we've added the ability to have a flexible width and height, or you can still preset it as you did in the past, but that allows for both responsive design as well as infinite scrolling and continuous updates within the page. Also the ability to change the layouts to where whenever you're using those sort of layouts, you have comments and scoreboards and information boxes all at the top of the screen versus the bottom whenever you want to do a fixed height and width. And other settings around that, such as whether or not you include the title page, what order your entries are going in, and all sorts of other flexibility now in the new embed builder. That functionality has lended itself to a lot of new different types of experiences, and combining that with pinning and the pinboard capability and now replies gives you a way to run your events in a number of different ways and optimize them based on the experience that you're trying to have. So if you're trying to do a lot of live blog, one-way coverage with publications, you can alter the look and feel in those settings to make it easier for your audience to consume that. If you're wanting to do a facilitated question and answer session or a hosted chat, then you can make those adjustments accordingly as well to make it much easier for your audience to follow along and utilize these new features. One of the things that the most recent release added was an embedded full-screen photo gallery slideshow. So any photo content that you're submitting to your event, whether it's from social sources such as Twitter and Instagram, or being pulled via RSS feeds, or dropped directly into the event either from the media library or uploaded through email or directly in the EventStudio, any of that image content is now automatically placed inside of a photo gallery slideshow that your audience can access whenever they click on a photo or click on an icon from the front end of the experience. So I'll jump in and show what this looks like on the front end already. If I scroll down past our question and answer session, you'll see a number of photos here, mostly around the World Series and from a varied number of sources. So it includes Twitter, there's some Instagram photos, there's also some things submitted directly into the event and from RSS feeds. If I click on any one of these, when I mouse over it, you'll notice now there's a slideshow icon, and I can click directly on that or just on the photo in general. And once I do, I get a full screen view of the photo, which is really cool. It's light boxed over the event, so I can still see updates that are happening in the background, but I can focus on just the photo and see that fully in my screen that's available. I can also see what other content has been provided with it. So if it came from Twitter, I get the full context of the tweet. If it's a photo that I added directly through the EventStudio and added a caption, then that information would be there, as well as Instagram content and so on. But I also have the ability to toggle through all of the images that have been dropped through this event without having to go through, scroll, and click on each one individually in the event. So essentially you have a built-in slideshow that your audience can now engage with to see just all of the image content that's been provided to your event. So this is great if you're aggregating a lot of social content or providing a lot of key updates around breaking news, where there's a very visual element to the story, as well as just a way to directly engage with the users and allow them to more easily see a lot of the content that's being provided, particularly if it's being provided very, very quickly in real time with a lot of things happening. And as you can see, this will continuously go through all of the image content that's been added. And once it gets to the end, it will cycle back around to the beginning of that slideshow. Great. It's a great feature and a great example of how the content that you add, particularly rich media and photos, can greatly enhance your event and make a greater experience for your audience, and you don't have to do any additional work to facilitate that. It's already built in to the new embed code and the new viewer experiences. In the future, we're going to expand that capability to allow for different formats, as well as you to also embed that photo slideshow directly on the page somewhere else or another page if you want. So that way you can access it not only from clicking on photos within the event, but also by putting an embed specifically for that elsewhere on your site or elsewhere on the page. And lastly, a few other interface and experience enhancements. These are mainly things to improve it for your viewer experience, for your audience, and as they're following and reading along to make things more streamlined. We've updated the viewer window icons and condensed some of those, so that way they're not as many crowding and confusing across the top of the bar, but all still accessible. We've also, as I mentioned, made cleaner EventStudio menus. So these adjust based on the context of the content item now, and they also can be expanded or shortened depending upon which pieces of functionality you want to access more frequently than others. And overall, with the new embed layouts, the channel page, full page layouts, each of these all also include an overall cleaner display from the top version of the events, where you're seeing scoreboards or you're seeing other updates from news flashes, polls, comments and questions, etc. So those cover a lot of the great new features that we've recently released in the past few weeks, and even recapped a little bit around pinning, which was in the previous release, and how those things can all be used together. A key note about all of these features from the EventStudio side is that they're only available in the EventStudio. They're not available in the Classic console. And if you still haven't tried out the EventStudio, we highly encourage you to do so. It's been out for nearly 10 months now, introduced in February. And while the Classic Console is still currently available, we will be retiring it early in 2014. So we would encourage you to get familiar with EventStudio. That's where a lot of the great new functionality is. If you have any feedback or find specific things from the Classic Console that you aren't sure how to access in the EventStudio, you can always email us at support, check the support center as well, or contact us. So that way we can help you and get you acclimated to the new EventStudio. There's a lot of great functionality. It's where we're continuing to add the new features. And while the Classic Console is still supported, it won't be for much longer. So we definitely encourage you to get in there, try out the EventStudio, and also give us some feedback. As I already mentioned, the Support Center is a great resource for things about the EventStudio, as well as any questions you may have, but you can also contact us. But also for checking out all of these features that we just mentioned, check out the Support Center, as well as under Resources tab, the What's New and the blog, where we have blog posts around this functionality, and What's New that describes these additional features as well, in case you need a refresher or want to pass it along to other friends and colleagues and make sure that they're aware. There's a lot of great content on how to use all of these features, also covered throughout the Support Center, and that content is linked directly within the Support Center in the search, but also from the What's New section in the blog as well. So at this time, we'll take one more reminder that you can always contact us with questions about these items or anything else as you get into them at support@CoveritLive.com. We'll also showcase great examples of these being used by customers, as well as creative thoughts around how you can use them to run your events more efficiently from our website, as well as on Twitter and Facebook. So make sure you follow us and or like us on those platforms and check out the content that we're providing there that can help you. And keep in mind that at any time we're always available to help and answer questions, and that as Spencer mentioned at the start of the session, this CoveritLive University session and all of our previous ones are available on the website as well. I'll also take a quick note to let you know that the past couple of CILU sessions we've been doing a new recording process to enhance both the quality of the video and audio, as we understand that some of the previous sessions were somewhat difficult to hear and understand due to the nature of the video recording. So hopefully you'll find that the newer sessions are much easier to follow, much better quality, and that the new process is working. And we'd love to have feedback on that as well. So at this time, I'll take a quick opportunity to remind you about our next CILU session, which will be a little bit earlier due to the holidays coming up. So it'll be Thursday, December 12th, 11 a.m. Eastern. And at that time, we'll discuss additional features from our upcoming and recent releases. We anticipate another new CoveritLive release coming out in the next few weeks. And that will feature new live experiences in addition to the photo gallery and the new enhancements we've made around the viewer window that you've seen in the recent months. We have some new forms of live experiences coming out, and some of our customers have already been working with those in a beta format, including live walls and some other things. So if you're interested in learning more about that ahead of CoveritLive University, please feel free to reach out and contact us. But otherwise, we'll be walking through that during that CILU session, and you'll see some of the new ways that you can be running live events, as well as ongoing live real-time engagements, engaging social streams in formats beyond just the linear live blog or the linear live feed that you're used to today. We're really excited about that, and that will also lend itself to some great new facilities in the back end in the setup of events that will make it much easier to create embed codes to adjust settings and to present your events and your tickers and your streams in a number of different diverse ways simultaneously, while all powering them from one EventStudio instance. So some really great stuff there. Hope you can all make that session and look forward to passing that along. And in the meantime, if there's been any questions or comments, we'll take a look at those now, and I'll turn it over to Spencer for any additional notes and comments and questions that we can answer.
All right. Thanks, Ben. Reminder, you can send in any questions you have by clicking on the green tab at the top of your screen and submitting a comment, and we'll be happy to answer those for you. Currently don't have any questions. I think you've done a very good job being very thorough with things. We'll wait just a couple of moments and see if any questions come in from anyone. If not, as Ben mentioned, at any time, reach out, support@CoveritLive.com. We'll be happy to help you with any questions or troubleshooting that you have need assistance with.
And I'll also take this moment to say that as you start using some of these new features, particularly the replies, the pinning, or some of the other new enhanced panelist capabilities and saving the SmartStream, If you're using those in your events, we would love to hear about that as well, whether you have feedback or whether you just want to let us know some examples of how you're using it and what's good about it. We'd love to see that and be able to showcase that and feature it on the site as well as great use cases and examples on how these features can enhance engagement within your events.
All right, thanks, Ben. It doesn't look like we have any questions today. So we appreciate everyone joining us. We'll see you again here next time at CoveritLive University, Thursday, December 12th at 11 a.m. Eastern.